Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Ever stop and think about what actually powers a nation of over a billion people? Well, today we're digging deep, literally, into the incredible mineral and energy wealth that fuels India. We're talking about everything from the steel that builds our cities to the power that lights up our homes.
Just take a look around you for a second. The phone or computer you're watching this on, the room you're sitting in, the bus or car that gets you from A to B, all of it started its life somewhere deep inside the earth. These resources are, quite literally, the invisible foundation of our entire economy and really our modern way of life.
So the big question is, where does all this stuff actually come from? In this explainer, we're basically going on a journey to explore India's geological treasure map. We're going to uncover what resources we have, where they're hiding, and how we use them to power the whole nation. So here's our plan. We'll start with the basics, what minerals actually are, before we map out the key resource hotspots across the country. Then we'll get into the exciting world of metals and our main energy sources. And to wrap it all up, we'll look ahead to the future of energy and talk about why saving these resources is just so important.
All right, let's start with the absolute basics. We hear the word mineral thrown around all the time, but what exactly is one?
The easiest way to think about them is as nature's unique building blocks. Every single mineral, whether it's a chunk of iron ore or a piece of coal, has its own special chemical recipe and a set of properties that makes it, well, it. And this chart here lays it out perfectly. Minerals are pretty much split into two main families, metallic and non-metallic. It seems like a simple distinction, right? But it's actually the key to understanding how we use every single one of them.
So on one side, you've got metallic minerals. Pretty self-explanatory, they're our source from metals. And even these are split into two groups. Ferrous minerals, which have iron in them, think iron ore, and non-ferrous minerals, which don't, like copper or bauxite.
Then on the other side, we have the non-metallic minerals. This group is huge. It includes our essential fuels like coal and petroleum, which actually come from ancient organic stuff, but it also includes other really crucial materials like mica, which is in all our electronics, and limestone, which is the backbone of the entire cement industry.
Okay, so now that we know what these minerals are, let's figure out where we can find them. And here's the thing, these resources aren't just scattered randomly across the country. Nope, they're clustered in very specific geological hotspots.
India's mineral wealth is concentrated in three major belts. First, you've got the Northeastern Plateau, which covers areas like Chota Nagpur and Odisha. This place is absolutely loaded with iron, coal, and bauxite, which is why so much of our heavy industry is right there. Then you move to the Southwestern Plateau, covering states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It's rich in iron-based metals, but interestingly, doesn't have much coal. And finally, there's the Northwestern region, which includes Rajasthan and Gujarat. This is a key spot for things like copper, zinc, petroleum, and even salt.
All right, let's zoom in a little closer on the metals that really form the backbone of our industrial world, starting with those ferrous, iron-based metals.
This map really brings it all to life, doesn't it? You can clearly see how the major zones for ferrous minerals like iron ore and manganese are packed into those northeastern and southwestern plateau regions. These resources are, without a doubt, the lifeblood of our steel industry. And get this, a staggering 95% of India's entire iron ore reserves are found in just a handful of states. We're talking Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Karnataka. That incredible concentration has literally shaped the industrial map of our country.
Okay, now let's switch gears and look at the non-ferrous metals. This map shows us where we find things like copper, which is absolutely vital for all our electrical wiring, and bauxite, which is the ore that gives us aluminum.
So here's the key thing to remember. While India has a ton of bauxite, with the biggest deposits being in Odisha, we actually have much smaller reserves of other super important minerals like copper. That makes them strategically vital. And we can't forget mica. It's this amazing natural insulator used in electronics, and we find most of it in Jharkhand and Andhra Pradesh.
All right, let's shift our focus now to the energy sources that have powered our world for hundreds of years. We're talking about conventional sources. Yep, fossil fuels. They kicked off industrial revolutions, but they've also left a pretty heavy mark on our environment.
And as you can see from this map, our conventional energy sources are also packed into specific regions. A whopping 97% of our coal comes from the valleys of just 4 rivers, the Damodar, Son, Mahanadi, and Godavari. Meanwhile, our oil is mostly found offshore at Mumbai High and onshore up in Assam and Gujarat.
This really brings us to a critical crossroads. As this slide shows, conventional sources are finite. They will run out eventually, and they're a huge source of pollution.
On the flip side, non-conventional sources like solar and wind are renewable, they're sustainable, and they offer us a much cleaner, greener path forward.
You know, this quote just says it all. We call it liquid gold for a reason. Petroleum is so much more than just fuel for our cars. It's a critical raw material for a massive range of products, everything from plastics and fertilizers to medicines and cosmetics.
So the limits and the environmental costs of conventional energy have really brought us to a tipping point. We have to embrace new technologies. The big question now is, what is going to fuel our future?
This image just captures the energy revolution we are living through perfectly. On one side, you have the past, the fossil fuel system of the 20th century, and on the other, you have the future, clean, renewable energy sources like solar that are going to define the 21st. This isn't just a small upgrade, it's a complete paradigm shift.
And India is going all in on this clean energy future. We're building a whole range of non-conventional energy projects. We've got major nuclear power plants. We're tapping into the incredible solar potential of Gujarat and Rajasthan. We're harnessing wind power. And we're even exploring really cutting-edge sources like geothermal energy in Himachal Pradesh and bioenergy from waste right in New Delhi.
But look, a new energy system is only part of the puzzle. We have to remember that so many of our mineral and energy resources are finite. They took millions of years to form. That's why conserving them isn't just a nice idea, it is absolutely essential if we want a sustainable future.
So the road to sustainability has a few different lanes. Of course, we need to accelerate the switch to renewable energy. But we also have to get really serious about recycling scrap metals. We've got to innovate and find substitutes for the minerals that are becoming scarce. And finally, we have to be smart about how we manage our most important reserves, which might mean cutting back on exports of some of these resources to save them for ourselves.
So we're really at a pivotal moment. We have the resources that built our modern world, but we also have the clean alternatives that can secure our future. The choices we make right now about how we produce, how we use, and how we conserve these priceless resources will truly define the kind of world we leave behind for the next generation.